Logan Walsh here with head tennis coach Jeff Splinter. Coach, your men's team playing in a tournament in this past weekend over Friday and Saturday at Charleston, going up against Charleston and West Virginia State. And how is it for your team to finally get back onto the courts and be able to just play the sport again?
Yeah, it's been a long awaited time. We spent about 242 days waiting for the moment to play again. So once we got the green light this past weekend, we were super excited. All of our guys raring to go. We started out with the 7 a.m. testing protocol, so got an early morning wake up, felt good, getting ready for the day, and then a departure around 1 o'clock. So played a little bit of night tennis at Charleston, and yeah, it was great to see the guys back on the court competing again against other players from other schools, and it definitely feels like we're on the right track. And although the scores from this past weekend are more scrimmage based, we got a good chance to see what we're up against for this coming semester, with Charleston being one of the top teams in the conference, and then West Virginia State being one of the more competitive teams for us too.
And so I never recognized that you played an indoor match, actually. They were all inside. So what was the difference? I know I've seen you guys practicing in our own gym here at Bobcat Arena. And so what was it like to play indoors rather than the outdoors, which we're all used to seeing?
Yeah, it's a fun game. Indoor tennis is fast, it's quick. The ball is flying across the court, and we do our best practicing in the gym here. So it took a little bit of adjustment time to kind of get used to the bounce of the ball again, just that competitive nature during a match. And I thought our guys really adjusted well. Our first round of matches, we only won one of them, but we came back in that second round with much more tenacity, much more. We were able to really bounce back and play our best tennis the second set of matches. So I love the way our team kind of approached the match, and there were definitely some butterflies there, and you can see some some shakiness, but that's to be expected. We have a very young team on the men's side, so for a lot of our guys, it was their first match, and yeah, it's just great to get out of the way and seeing kind of how they react in stressful situations.
And so you talked about the one win that you had on Friday was Jeff Goldring, who's one of the senior members on this team of such a young team, and he's been one of the most consistent performers here the past couple of years. And what does he specifically bring to this team, either from leadership or just coaching up some of the players and performing himself?
Yeah, I think you definitely hit on it. Yeah, Jeff definitely brings that consistency. It's something that we talked about going into the match was confidence and consistency, and Jeff Goldring never lacks confidence, always leans back on his consistency. He is a very talented player who knows exactly what he's trying to do every point, and some of the young guys are definitely learning a lot from him in terms of how to build a point, how to succeed in college. He's had a very successful career here at Frostburg, where he started down in the lower lineup his freshman year. Last year he's playing one singles. Now we brought in a freshman who's ahead of him, so he's able to really continue to play his top level of tennis a little bit lower in the lineup, which has been a big help for him. And I've seen a big boost in his confidence, and he's the same every day. He comes in, he practices, he pushes the guys extremely hard, and very excited with the cohesive unit we have here on the men's team.
And so you talked a little bit about consistency of what Jeff brings, and I noticed in your notes that you were willing enough to share with me before today, and some of the ones that I noticed there is confidence and consistency, and then have a blast, kick some butt, we'll say. And what did you go into that weekend in terms of planning and trying to get them to listen to what you're trying to tell them in your notes?
Yeah, so it's something we've been talking about for the past month of practice here, and then also last semester too. Is these are all things that we've been working on and really focusing in on going into match play. We just knew the time would come eventually, so we have a great game in terms of we know what we're doing. We meet on a regular basis to kind of go over game planning, and being on the court and kind of figuring out what you're trying to do during the middle of a point. And it really just comes down to that confidence of knowing what you have in place is exactly right and it doesn't need to change. So, I know for a lot of our freshmen, it was to get those nerves out. And once those are out, they could focus on playing again. And it goes back to that first point of that confidence and consistency. And, tennis is so easy but hard where, we're always doing the same thing over and over again and just trying to, break your will upon the opponent or, vice versa. So, how do we assert our dominance on the court before it gets put to us? So that's kind of something we talked about, and, we want to push our opponent around the court instead of us having to run around over and over again. But, that's something we practice, and it's something, all of our players have great endurance, that we're comfortable playing long matches.
And you've been talking this entire time about the freshmen and how impressed you've been by them. And one that I noticed, Andrew Burton, who went 3 sets on the first day and ended up winning the second day, one of the more impressive performances over the weekend. What have you seen from him in his first year here at Frostburg?
Yeah, I think, for him, it's about trying to find his limits and what he's capable of. So, this weekend he plays a unique game where, he's not super offensive. He kind of plays more defensively. So, a lot of slice, a lot of chips. So, it can get kind of annoying as the person you're playing against. But, I love that he didn't get annoyed with, shots that were hit on him that were winners or things like that. He didn't take those into mind. He just he kept playing his game, and he kept, trying to do what he was supposed to be doing on the court, everything that we kind of talked about. So, I think that overall he had one of the more impressive days. Definitely a lot of the guys stick out to me. With Mason having a great weekend, and really all of our returners having phenomenal weekends. Mason, Tim, and Ben played a really good first match. So it's just great to see some live tennis and some wills that won't quit on the court.
Yeah, and it's great for you to see as a coach, being that you don't start true match play for another almost month at this point, and March 20th is your first official match, we'll call it. And I'm sure you've been loving the time that you've had to spend with these guys, and also for the women's team who you haven't quite gotten to see to play in match play, but I'm sure you're excited about their season as well.
Oh, absolutely. March 6th. We've got it circled on our calendar, Bowie State at home. So, it's a short 3-4 weeks away now. It's creeping up on us, and the women's team is itching to get out there and play. I know they're very ready. Practice has been very encouraging. So, once we can get them out there playing some match play again on some courts, look out.
Yeah, it's hard here, and I'm sure everyone in our area knows the amount of snow and ice that we've had. It's very hard for you guys to get on the court. But I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day, coming to talk to us here on the Bobcast, and good luck for the future matches that you'll have.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I just want to mention, just really proud of the way, our guys really and our women have been sacrificing over the past couple of weeks. So I know it's not easy, and we appreciate everything they're going through, and it wouldn't make weekends like this past weekend possible if they weren't putting in that hard work. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, go Bobcats.
Back on the Bobcast here for Week 6, here with head coach for volleyball, Kylie Hine. Coach, this season has kind of been hectic for you guys, a lot of rescheduling and shifting of the gears in terms of trying to get games in and figure out who you're going to play, where you're going to play, and what day you're going to play. So what's it been like so far for you guys, just trying to figure out all of these schedule messes?
I think that, honestly, from fall semester going all the way back to, September, the word or the phrase has always been like being flexible and being prepared for anything. So that's honestly just what we've been doing, focusing on ourselves and being prepared for anything.
And so finally you get back into Bobcat Arena, your first game that you get to coach on your home floor against West Liberty, and it's a 3-set sweep, and 25-14, 25-9, and 25-22. And we'll start with that first set and going down 4-0 to start it out, and then eventually 10-3. But you guys able to bring it back to 12-11. So what was it that you're saying to your team after you're down by 7, just trying to get back into things?
I think that it's very similar to the changes or the growth that happened in that Fairmont match on the previous, what was it, Tuesday? Whenever it was that we played Fairmont.
Yeah.
That second set, we dug ourselves a hole, and then we were able to climb out of it. And, so many times you look back on that and you think like, well, you still lost the set, which we did. But there's so much growth that happens from being able to be down so many points and then just not lose, like not just crumble from there and being able to like climb back. A little bit like what happened in the second set where we just didn't climb back. But anyway, so I think that it's just really being able to get that side out right away. Like realize like, okay, we made a mistake. It's okay. We're going to come back right back and get this next point. And that comes with, a mental shift and just a little bit more maturity too.
And so you talked about that second set, which was, I kind of used the phrase a punch in the mouth for you guys, and West Liberty kind of just came out and stormed the entire set, really. And is there anything that you really learned from that set to take away? You just kind of, you know what, guys, let's just go to the next set. We'll forget about that one and just kind of do our thing and move on from it.
Okay, I don't want to take anything away from West Liberty. They're great. Like, they're athletic. They're putting up some great like, just across the board, even at how they're doing in the conference. It's awesome. And it's always exciting to get that opportunity to play against a team that is so well-rounded. They have a very tall and great middle, both of them, honestly, and some very powerful outsides that are actually undersized, but they really make up for it with their vertical. So I don't want to take anything away from how they performed because they did well. But there are those moments in coaching, and I think also as a player, where you see the score and you're like, whoa, let's just stop and try to restart, So, we got to that moment, but I think that, just looking positively to the future, you really do have to have all of those down moments to be able to enjoy the great moments that are to come. So, yeah, I'm not going to lie, it's still kind of hard. I think the word embarrassing definitely was used a few times. But, I think that, like I said, you just those things have to happen for you to realize that, like, oh my gosh, they're never going to happen again, and this is what we're going to do to move forward.
And so talking about moving forward in that third set was a real back and forth the entire way, and I don't think after the first couple points either team led by more than 2 until West Liberty went on that 4-0 run at the end and 24-20. And but what did you see from your team in that set where and I was broadcasting the game from the top, and I saw you guys just looked more focused, more consistency, and less mental errors. And what did you see from the sideline?
Well, I think that, one, let's just go back to that second set. When another team starts putting in non-starters because there's that much of a gap, that's just as a coach and also as players where it's like, wow, we did this whole entire scouting report for their starters and now they don't even need them. So it's a little bit, let's just say, a slap in the face. But then it's almost along the lines my husband was the one that said it, you can't fall through the floor. So once you've hit rock bottom, you can only go up from there. And it hurts to hear, of course, but then they're not wrong. So that third set, it was almost like we can't do much worse. So let's go out and play volleyball the way that we've enjoyed playing it up until this point. Because no one likes to play when it's not fun. So at least do what you got to do to enjoy yourself on the court. And it's crazy how coaches spend so much time being super nitpicky about little things, but when it's just such a bigger picture of just enjoy it. Enjoy the moment that you're in, and crazy awesome things will happen, that you get that kind of score in return, which is frustrating too, because it's man, why can't we just do that from the beginning? But I think it just goes back to show how sports when you're 5 years old to when you're 18 to 22 years old, they're all the same. You play better when you're having fun. So I think that's just kind of a theme that you got to get back to sometimes.
Yeah, and you talk about having fun, and something that might be a little bit stressful for you, and I noticed during the game there were a couple of really long rallies of going 6-7 times across both sides. And what is that like as a coach? Obviously you're a former player, so you know what that's like on the court, but as a coach, kind of just watching both teams, you're anxious and trying to hope that your team pulls out, or you're just enjoying the rally itself?
I think you get lost in it. I'm not gonna lie. Like those rallies happen, and it's just like, in ways, that's what's exciting about the game, because there's so much good happening that it almost, someone's gonna end up winning the point, but no matter what, this was good. Like, this was good volleyball. So, and I think that, I tell the team this too, and it wasn't so much like I want to win, and they know that, and all of those things that come with winning are important to me, but I want to make sure we're winning the right way. And with that, I know losses come. So, like, as long as we're competing and we're working hard and we're scoring points, and we have those rallies, like, there's not much more you can ask for. Like, eventually things will fall our way. So, like, no, it's not so much that I get anxious during long rallies. It's just like, yes, like, this is all so great,
Yeah.
and then it's comes back to that, like, we lose that rally, it's like, awesome job, now get the next point within 2 seconds. And that's the mentality shift that has to happen. So, I think you see those long rallies, and that's exciting, but then it's even more exciting when you can get the next point right after that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to talk a little bit about the individual players, and one that stood out, especially in that third set, is Lake and Micah, where she had 4 of their 7 kills, which led the team in that third set, has the highest kill percentage on the team this year. And what have you seen from your standout first-year player, we'll call her?
You know what? Lakin's doing her job, and she's doing it well. And she is taking every ounce of feedback that she's getting from me, from Coach Kendall, and from her teammates to make her the best player she can be. So if it's an adjustment on her block, if it's something she has to do on her swing to correct it, she immediately makes that change. And whether or not it's successful at that moment, it's a toss-up. But she is doing what she needs to be successful, and she has worked hard to earn her spot. And I know that she's going to continue to keep working hard to keep that spot too. So it's really exciting. It's always exciting to get someone completely new, like a freshman standout. Like, what more could you ask for? So, like, that's fun.
And do you see it as an advantage for her in a way that she's left-handed on her swings, or does it not really matter to you in terms of how teams set up their blocks?
I think the advantage to being left-handed is that there's just so few left-handed people, or left-handed people playing volleyball within the MEC. I guess that's what I should say. So I think it looks different. But this is actually my first time getting the opportunity to coach a left-handed player, so sometimes I'm just like, what? Like, that doesn't look right. No, but, like, I think, honestly, it does mess with the team's blocking a little bit, especially if in practice they don't have a left-handed person to see all of the time. So I think that there's an advantage with that. But I think what Lakin is going to see soon is that teams are going to start to pick up on the fact, like, oh, this is one of their top hitters, so then she's going to have to deal with pressure that maybe she's not so used to seeing yet.
And so dealing with a little bit of pressure and preparing is Jackie Sterenberg, who was a standout last year and led the team in kills. This year, struggling a bit, only has 2 kills in her 36 attacks so far. What's been is she in her own mind? Are teams, like, figuring her out? And what have you seen that's caused her to kind of struggle so far this year?
I think that Jackie has a very high expectation of herself, which is a great thing. I have a very high expectation for her too. But I think that one of the things that we've just come to realize very recently is that there's so much more power to, like, talking through things than just bottling them up and expecting to be able to work through them necessarily on the court. So I think that maybe this is a different coaching style that she maybe didn't have ever previously. And we are working on our relationship so that can help her kind of have a breakthrough on the court. So I think that teams should be a little nervous for Jackie, because she has proven herself before, and just because she's in a little slump now doesn't mean that that's what it's going to stay like. So.
Yeah, and we obviously know what talent she has and how she can bounce back and getting set. And so want to talk a little bit about one of the standout West Liberty players in Madison Clayton, who the entire conference has known her for years, and all of 6'5" of her, and one of the tallest players, not just in this conference, but in all Division II. And what is it like? Like, how do you prepare going in for someone that, as you said before we're talking on air, she can just stand there and swat the ball. She doesn't even really need to jump.
I think that, I would be lying if I said I was jealous. Every coach wants, some intangible like that. Like, you can't teach height. But, I don't want to take anything away from her as an actual volleyball player. She works to get off the net to be an option no matter where she is. She has power behind her swing. And those things all contribute to making West Liberty as great as they have been. So I've actually been coaching within this area long enough that I've actually been able to see her as a freshman. So it's really cool to see her growth over the past 4 years. But anyway, I think that she is a fantastic athlete, and she deserves all of the recognition that she gets. But as far as coaching that, it's the same type of thing that you do with any kind of hitter. You scout them, you pick up on their tendencies, you learn. If she's one of their top hitters, how can we make sure that she gets the ball the fewest amount of times, and what do we have to do as a team to make that happen? So it's kind of like a chess game or like a game of pool, where it's like you have to be thinking a few plays in advance to know that, like, okay, when I put the ball here, that takes her out of position, so she's not going to get set. And then when there is the opportunity for her to get set, know that the ball's going to be put in her hands. So, I think it's just like a little bit of that volleyball IQ and that strategy part that is part of growing and learning the game.
And so talk about learning, and another first-year standout, we'll say, in Jenna Gossard, who actually led the team with 12 digs in that game and really kind of broke out against West Liberty after a bit of a quiet Fairmont State game. But what is she so? I saw in the scrimmage that you guys had in the fall, she's actually one of the most vocal players out there as well, and she's kind of standing next to you and Kendall and coaching the team in her own little way. But what have you seen from her, not just in that game, but also in practice throughout the year?
From fall semester to spring semester, there was an honest big switch in her, just all around. So what that is, I don't know yet, and I'm not going to question it because, it's working out for her and it's also working out for our team. I'm really proud of how she has grown too. And it's so funny because I would not peg Jenna to be like super loud or vocal, but she is. And I think once again, she holds herself to a very high standard and expects great things of herself, which I think works for her positively. So she has this belief that she's going to be able to get every single ball up, and she's going to pass every serve receive ball to target. And, having that positive self-talk and being able to do it is really working for her. And it's exciting to see. Like I said with Lakin, like, it's always exciting to see freshmen, fresh blood, whatever it is, come onto the court and like make a name for themselves. So way to go, Jenna.
Well, it's a busy scheduling week for you upcoming here, and starting with a doubleheader tomorrow night against Alderson Broadus, and 5 o'clock game start. And how do you prepare for a doubleheader? Because it's not entirely common in volleyball to go one match and then you're right back, 25 however minutes later for the next one.
It's not common, but it's not uncommon. So like usually in a typical volleyball season, we'll start the first couple weeks with matches on Friday and Saturday, like a little try match or whatever it is. And sometimes you are that team that plays back to back. So that's where that whole, the strength training, the conditioning, all of those things come into play. And then also, like I said before, sometimes it's not all about the power game. It's about like the strategy as far as like, do we need to put this ball away as quickly as we can to get a point? Or are we playing the long game? Like, are we making these rallies long? Are we tiring out their middles? What's our goal so we can put our best, like we can be in the best position moving forward? So, I don't know. I think about like when you're in high school and you're playing club volleyball, you're playing like 4 or 5 matches a day, all day. Like that should be a collegiate player's dream. Like, oh my gosh, I get to spend the next like 5 hours just playing volleyball. So in ways I think it's just all a mental thing. Like your body can handle it. My body can't, but theirs can. So, I think it is what it is. And I'm just happy that we get to like actually make up those matches and it's just not, a wash, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
And this crazy year of COVID, I'm sure we're all just happy to just be playing our own individual sports and being able to be out there on the court or on the field or wherever we're playing.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day here and coming to talk to us on the Bobcast, and good luck for this upcoming week and however many matches you end up playing.
Yeah, thank you.
Logan Walsh back here with head coach of the men's basketball team, Sean Brown. And, Coach, a couple of losses in the last week to Glenville State and Fairmont State, two of the best teams in the conference based on record so far this year. And what did you make overall of your team's performance in those two games?
Well, I think we assessed the situation. We obviously watched a bunch of film lately over the past week or so. We didn't handle business. We didn't play good enough defense, obviously, to get what we wanted to accomplish. We had a lot of mental mistakes. Last week. Felt like our guys were tired. They're kind of hitting a wall here, and we're trying to get them as much rest as possible. Heading into these last 2 weeks, we're gonna have to gut it out. We're going to have to finish strong. We're going to have to find a way to win half of these games, these remaining games. At the end of the day, we got to do a better job of coaching our guys and substituting because we had that second group. We keep as we keep looking back on the film, our second group has really picked us up and kind of got us back into some games. Especially these last two, and we got off to some really horrific starts. Our second unit came in and played really good ball and got us back on track. And until that first unit could get stable, so to say, we got to do a better job. I have to do a better job of monitoring those guys' minutes and getting our second unit more minutes.
And so we'll start out with the Glenville State game as a
Yes,
131 to 104 loss, and I guess we have to start with John Williams from the Pioneers. Put up 52 points, which was we learned after the fact the highest total for men's or women's at any level of college this year. And personally, I and you might disagree with me, is I don't think you guys played necessarily the worst defense against him. He just made some tough contested shots and just couldn't be stopped on that day. But what did you see from him and then your defense and trying to contain him that entire game?
Well, I think we talked about Johnny Williams last week during the Bobcast. I told you he was on every level. He's been amazing. I remember him. I was a coach somewhere some years ago. Just to I'll just gloss over this quickly. I remember his name coming across my desk some years ago as a high school senior. And it's weird how you remember these guys. And again, last year, as he was looking to transfer out of junior college, he's a stud. I mean, he's a player. He's probably a Division I level talent. He gets some mismatches playing in our league because he kind of gets away with playing like a stretch four. So, he has a mismatch every single night. You put a guard on him, he's going to body him and score inside. You put a a big on him, he's just going to abuse him and blow by him, step back, hit threes. I mean, he's Johnny Williams. He's that deal. There's not a whole lot I could say about him. We could have defended him better. We gave him too many open looks. Now, it's a difference from open shots and open looks. He can appear to be closely guarded, but you got to work. You got to do most of your work before the catch, and we didn't do a good job of that. And once he caught it, our hands were down. For players like that, it's too late to get your hands up after he's already taken that mental picture. And he's one of the best players in our league. And again, he's been playing this caliber ball on every level since high school, JUCO, and even now. And we talked about it last week before we even played him. We knew he was a handful.
And one player that I noticed, Kanan Bartley, was tasked with guarding him for a lot of the second half, and I knew he was a lot more aggressive on trying to deny the ball from him. Was that your game plan, trying to go into the second half after he put up, I think, 27 in that first half?
Well, the game plan was to to stop him however we could. No, we don't deny any players. We don't, Kanan just wanted to kind of, he wanted to take a crack at him and see, wanted to put some pressure on him. And try to turn him up a little bit, and it worked for a couple of minutes, and then he kind of went back off. It's once a player like that is, once he's hitting on all cylinders and he's seeing that ball going, he's going to get into his bag, and there's no stopping him from there, no matter how good you are. Our problem was we didn't stop the other guys. They had 5 guys in double figures. We had, if I'm not mistaken, outside of the kid that had 50, they had kids that had 17, 16, 16. One guy came off the bench and had like 16 points and 13 rebounds. The game prior, he didn't score a point. So, that's what we take issue with. Great players are going to be great, but what are you going to do? What do you do to the other guys? That becomes an issue. So, we had a whole lot of work ahead of us. Well, we could have coached better. We could play better, and we'll see. That team's number 24 in the country for a reason.
And so I remember you talked about your second unit and how well they played. And 2 players that I wanted to focus on are Bo Sheen and Desmond Renee, who both scored their season highs. Bo had 16, Desmond had 15. And I kind of look at them as sort of like glue guys for this team where, you can put them in the game and you know what you're going to get out of them. Is that what you see as well? And what did they show you in that game specifically?
Well, these guys, those 2 guys, number one, they're playing a lot tougher. It's a physical game within the game, and it's not just about who's the strongest. Those guys they're trying to make to do the things that we're asking them to do, and the things we're asking our guys to do isn't easy. And that's why you see their success. They're doing those things more times than none, and they're getting a little more playing time. Earlier in the season, we were a little down on those 2 guys. We had high hopes coming into the season, and then they weren't really giving us what we needed. And now they're doing what we thought that they would be able to do within our system. But those guys are playing well. I just told them both yesterday. After our COVID testing, it's funny you highlight those 2 guys. I told those 2 guys you played really well, and you guys are playing well and practicing well. Keep it up. But obviously both has some work ahead of them. But both want to get better, and we'll see. Their minutes should increase again with their added production.
And another one of the second unit players I wanted to bring up, Marcellus Carroll, who came into the game, hadn't played since January 20th, and I could sense your frustration in the early goings of that Glenville game. I remember you said that you were really frustrated you didn't get going out of the blocks of just needing rebounding, and Marcellus certainly brought that and led the team with 6 rebounds. I think he got a couple quick ones right as soon as entering the game. But what has bringing him back into the fold been giving for you guys?
Well, he gives us a big physical presence. Although we have some guys that's playing in that position, that 4-5 slot, it's kind of been a revolving door for us all year. Actually, the last 2 years, he gave us some size, he gave us some strength in that position, some rebounding. Our bigs hadn't done a good job of rebounding this year. He's pretty physical. We're still working on getting him up to speed as far as team defense. But Marcellus seems to be hungry. He's playing a lot better at practice. He wants some minutes. So, he showed a little bit of what he can do this past week. Second half didn't play the greatest, but, nobody played real well in the second half. So we'll see. We'll put him in for smaller spurts just to go around and, but try to at least play him as many minutes as he played this week, especially if he plays well. And we'll see. Hopefully that'll conserve his energy and have him play longer for us when we need him more, especially down the stretch.
And so as we get into the Fairmont State game, is 99-75 the final score, and obviously we both know coming into that game, Fairmont, one of the best teams in the conference. We've known that all season, but you guys really came out and led 30-24 in that first half, a 6-point lead that really looked strong, and then from that point on kind of fell apart on the offensive end, and Fairmont really got down unguarded. But What did you see from your team specifically in that first half when you really got down into it and stood toe-to-toe with one of the best teams in the conference?
What did I see? I'm gonna come out and say it. Our second unit, manhandled that team. Had another a horrific start to that game. If I don't know if you remember, I think it was like 14-5 or something like that. Our second unit came in and they totally dominated Fairmont. They totally dominated. Horrible coaching decision getting those starters back in. I know our backups need a break. I should have called several timeouts and kind of let this backup see if they can extend the lead more. Because if it was, I think it was 25-30 when I start bringing the starters back in. It was 24-30. Our biggest lead, and then I started bringing the starters back in, and right around the 7-minute mark. By the end of the first half, we were down 8. So, horrible coaching decision. I've gotta take that on the chin. I gotta look myself in the mirror, and I gotta take responsibility when I don't do the right thing, just like I ask our players to do. So I blame that on coaching. But that's how we grew that lead, because again we started out really horrible, and then our backups came in. The second unit came in and they just kind of, they manhandled Fairmont. There's nothing more I can say, because we didn't even score. I mean, we scored, but we weren't, we didn't look pretty doing it. We didn't have any flow to the offense, but defensively we locked them down. So that's what happened. Our second unit came in hungry again for the second game in a row.
You were close there. Is 16-5 lead for Fairmont, and it was a 19-7 just after that, and then second unit came in and got you guys back into it. So
yeah,
it was,
I think we went on something crazy like a 23-4 run or 23-7 run. It was crazy.
And so I want to talk going into that game, and we know that they're so balanced. I think they had 5 guys going into the game that all averaged double figures. How do you prepare to guard a team like that, where anyone can attack you at any given moment and everyone defensively has to be locked in all at the same time?
Well, there you go. That's how you first off, you go in and with letting everybody know that everybody has an individual responsibility to stop their guy, but also knowing in the team concept, we're playing 5 against 1 every time the ball moves. We want 5 guys guarding the ball every single possession. We hadn't quite grasped that concept yet as a team, but sometimes you see that there's spurts. We're getting there. I'm not gonna say we're turning the corner, but we're making strides. Again, there's times you see that there's possessions where you see that we force teams into horrible shots 4 or 5 possessions in a row, and we can't get a rebound, or we'll force 4 or 5 possessions in a row, and then we'll score twice on the other end, but we'll turn it over 2 times also. So we're getting there. We're getting there. Our guys, they got to keep working and keep understanding that everything affects everything.
And I kind of want to keep on the momentum of talking about the extra guys and the guys that aren't starting, but in the reverse in that of Ajay Edwards and Jahar Williams in that game against Fairmont, a combined 1 for 10 from the field. They only scored 2 points between them, which was Ajay scored them both. 2 of the 3 leading scorers on this team, and neither of them really got going, but your bench carried them for a lot of that game in terms of getting the offense going. But what went wrong for those 2? Is it, like you said, they're just kind of gassed at this point? I know you said Ajay's been banged up basically the whole year. Is it just they just didn't have it that game, or you're trying to give them a little bit of rest when you can?
Well, it's twofold. I don't think they had it that game, as well as they're getting a whole lot of attention also from the opposing team's best players and best defenders. Teams are rolling their defense to them. Now they got to make, what are you going to do in your secondary move, your secondary option? Do we have a third option? What are we going to do? Now teams are making us do other things. So hence these guys have got to get better and learn, find out what they can do to be effective. Also, our reserves came in and had really big games. Our reserves are just as old as our starters. I mean, these guys have all played basketball, and these guys have been starters this year, starters in the past. So no matter who starts and who finishes, I mean, all of them are about the same age and all of them played about the same amount of basketball. Um, but with that said, these guys have got to find, different ways of scoring and being effective, even if not scoring, but being effective in the game. Um, defense, defensive of intensity can pick up, and a lot of times we can find offense out of defense. But it's up to those guys to realize that and understand that. And then third thing again that guys are kind of beat up and tired and they hit the wall, and now we gotta kind of get through that wall and see how we're gonna come out on the other side.
And talk about some of the players are kind of the same age and they're all around the same experience level. But one of we'll call him the elder statesman on this team, and Kanan Bartley, who we touched on earlier in that game against Fairmont, he led the team in scoring and rebounding. And for some stretches of that game, looked like he was really the only guy out there for you guys and really giving it his all and putting in 100% effort. And I know we talked previously about how big it is to have him back, but especially in that Fairmont game, what did you see from him from just a leadership level and knowing that he has that experience?
Well, we're trying to work him back. We're trying to give him everything at one time, which is what he wants and what he needs. Because we're at the end of the season, a short abbreviated season, and it's tough to work him back in. We'd like to work him back in, but it's tough. He's been sitting out for weeks. He's got to get his conditioning back. He's got to get his timing back. He's been playing really, really tired. Not getting, some of the rotations we like him to get. Not making some, being as aggressive as we like him to be. But I mean, obviously he's a talented player. Very, very talented for this league, and he's going to stand out on most days. But we need for Kanan to kind of get rested and kind of and get back in the swing of things where he could be dominating games and not just standing out.
And one of the guys that's been there all season, and Jalen Johnson, who didn't shoot the ball great, was only 5 of 15 from the floor in that Fairmont game, but he did go 3 of 6 from behind the arc, and coming into the game, he had only made 2 3-pointers on the season. Is that something that he's tried to work on in practice? Because in the games, he usually, he loves that elbow jumper to pull up and do the long two, but is 3-pointer something that he's worked on to try and develop more?
He has, and, Jalen Johnson, we talk about getting uncomfortable in our program quite a bit. And I'll say of all the folks on our team, Ajay being one of them, but Jalen Johnson has been one of the ones who's been willing the most of anybody on our team to get uncomfortable, to really get out of his comfort zone and learn and try to tackle some new concepts and try to do things out of, that he's not used to, that doesn't feel good to him. Hence, he's playing a lot better, a lot more minutes. He's learning a lot. He also has a mean streak that I love. He has an edge. You guys hadn't seen it yet, but we've seen it, and I've seen it. And he's young. He's a young player, and it hadn't come out yet. He's still learning. I keep telling you every week, he's a freshman again on the floor. It's like he's a freshman on the floor because he lost the greater part of last season. So, Jalen's learning, and we're proud of how he's progressing, and how he's putting himself out there to learn. 5 for 15. It looks bad on the surface, but he went 3 for 6 from 3, so his true shooting percentage was a lot better than what his shooting percentage says. He loosened up the defense a lot, getting to the basket. Now it's going to be time. He's just got to learn how to make the right decision. But these are the growing pains you go through with young guards or young players, period. Young talented players. But he wants to learn the game, and he's a pretty good player. He's going to get better. We're going to continue to put pieces around him. We're going to continue to bring guys in to push him. But Jalen he's the kid on our team that we're really happy with. But he's really been trying to get out of his comfort zone and do what we ask him to do, offensively, defensively, getting to the basket, coming to jump stops, finding guys. I can't speak enough, but yes, that three-pointer, he's been working on that every single day. He's shooting a ton of them, not just three-pointers, but pull-up jump shots. He's working on his shooting from all areas of the court. We're happy with Jalen's progression.
And you said you tell me about every week how Jalen is still a first-year player, and I relay that message the same on the radio broadcast, trying to tell people when he does something good, when he does something bad, hey, he's still learning the game, and he's really in his first year in the program from a basketball pure standpoint. So we thank you for taking the time out of your day, and good luck on Wednesday when you finally get to play Wheeling after the amount of reschedules with them this season. But
now that they're a really good team, but it's all good. We go, we'll go down there and we'll give our best shot. Both teams are, I think we have the same record. Maybe we have one win above them, but we're probably, if we have a 10-team playoff, that'll probably be the team that we'll be battling against to get that 10th spot. So it should be fun. This is a big time game for us. We're gonna go down there with all intents purposes. We want to win this game. But more than anything, we want to play well, and we want to make sure we grow and learn something from this game. But we want to win this game, and we're putting everything on the line here. So there we go.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.